The last built-in data type in Python that I want to cover is the dictionary data type. And let me show you how you make a dictionary. You have what are called keys. And let's say this dictionary is supposed to correspond to grade cutoffs, like 80 and up is a B, okay, not counting the plus and minus. And so you have what are called keys, which are these things that are coming before the colons. And there are also these things called values, which are coming after the colons. So let me just finish this. So total, this is going to have 5 keys in it. And let's just set f to be 0. So you make a dictionary using curly brackets, just like for sets. And what differentiates it from a set when Python is constructing it is these colons that are separating the keys on this side from the values on this side. And if we check what is the type of D, you're going to get that it's a dictionary. And in this case, the keys are all strings and the values are all ints, but that's not how it has to be. You can have anything you want for the values, and you can have lots of different things for the keys. So as an example, we could do the brackets 20. And so if I just try that by itself, I get key error 20. Okay, like if you try D bracket 0, get the exact same thing, key error 0. And so what that's saying is that 0 never occurred on the left-hand side here. Yeah, I think of these keys as sort of like inputs, and I think of the values as sort of like outputs. So I think of 80 as like an output to this input B. Uh, and so, as an example of how we could add the key 0, okay, the integer 0 to this dictionary, I can say b square bracket 0 equals, and you can really put anything you want here. Like, let's put the list 3141. And now if I check what's the dictionary, there's this new value here, or sorry, there's this new key here of 0, and it has a value that's this length 4 list, 3141. So that shows a little bit about the flexibility. What happens if I do d brackets b equals 85? So one thing you might expect is maybe there's going to be a comma b colon 85 on the right. That's not quite what happens. Instead, what happens is the old b value here, that gets replaced by this new 85 that I set. Okay, so it's still in the same place in the dictionary, and it has this value of 85. If you want to see like what is the value corresponding to C, you use this same notation with the square brackets. It's similar to how you get the third element out of a list, is you use square brackets. And so this is saying the value corresponding to C is 70. And so I said that the, the values had a lot of different flexibility. Let me show you one more example. Like I could say D, and just for a confusing example, let me put 0 in again. And then let's put a little dictionary in here. So let's say um, hello corresponds to first word, and world corresponds to second word. And so now if I look at the dictionary, it might seem like I'm contradicting what I said before, that the same key can't show up twice in the dictionary. But the difference is this key is the integer 0, and this key is the string 0. So they're not the same. And this is an example of how you can have a dictionary as a value inside of a dictionary. If if you try to use a dictionary, for example, as a key as opposed to a value, that's not going to work. And so maybe instead of showing that, let me show you a more basic example. Like say I try to make a set that has like 3, 1, and then how about the list 4, 1 in it? I get this type error, And the reason for that type error is that lists are not are not allowed to go into a set. Okay, the technical reason is because they're not hashable. But for now, all I want you to know is that lists cannot go in a set, but tuples can. So if you try to do 3, 1, 4, 1 with a tuple, okay, using these round parentheses instead of square brackets, that works fine. And it's the exact same with the restrictions for the keys of a dictionary. If I try to put in the key, the list for 1, and I try to set that equals to 1, I get the exact same error as I got for the set. I get this unhashable type list. Whereas if I try to set a key to be a tuple, in this case, the tuple for 1, and I set that equal to 1, that works fine. And if I check the dictionary now, there's this new key at the bottom of the tuple for 1. So tuples are allowed to be keys in a dictionary, but lists are not. And a dictionary is one of my favorite types inside of Python. I don't use it quite as often as I used to, especially in Math 10 when I'm using pandas, the pandas library a lot, because that is a similar data type, which is what's called a series. And so I've just sort of moved away from using dictionaries as much as I used to, but they're still one of my favorite types inside of Python, and they're one of the most important types because they're used all the time, for example, in documentation for different libraries and as parameters, or maybe like holding values of parameters in Python. Dictionary is like a very prominently used data type.